Patricia's.
And then, they got, some of the house people, I think, got Linda Hartigan and some other ones, but so you stand back and you're gonna go in order of seniority to take seats. So you're like looking around, and then I thought, okay, they're getting to the 11, so I'm gonna be in that batch, so I should probably look. And
Do you draw for those spots?
Yeah, so the secretary draws the. So I'm like, okay, which one?
It's 7 o'clock reroll.
That one. I got that first.
What the heck was that? Sorry. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission for Monday, December 5th. Tonight we have an established quorum of very few of us, but we do have an established quorum. And I'm looking to approve the minutes for November 7th, 2022.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 7th, 2022.
I have a first, I have a second.
We'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. All right, moving on. Recognizing persons not on the agenda this evening. Seeing none, we'll move on. Anybody want to share any conflict of interest that might partake in tonight's discussions?
None for me.
All right. Seeing none, we'll move straight into our public hearing and action then.
I just want to. This is a good example. So a conflict of interest would be if you work at or you own Albertson stock.
Anybody?
Not unless it's part of it. Okay.
Okay, nope, good, perfect, thank you. Action item for vacation of application for Lee Young and Albertsons Companies Incorporated to vacate right-of-way 7 feet from the rear of the building, removing existing ramps from the row and allowing for expansion of the property located at 528 North Main Street. Mr. Cherry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So these two applications correspond with one another. Based on your feedback, we have split the items into two, just so we can make sure that there's greater clarity. So the first application is a request by the applicant for the city to vacate public right-of-way in the form of a existing sidewalk area. And we're going to pull that up right here so that you can see it. However, I believe it is all in your packets. It's important to note that the existing ramps are currently within public right-of-way. They do have an easement for those ramps. And now what they are hoping to do is they're hoping to do an expansion on the southern side of the building, which will allow an area for cold storage to exist. Staff has reached out to the applicant and our legal counsel on making sure that we do this in the right way, as far as this is the proper way to make the request. Hold on, we're just gonna pull it up right over here so we can see it. So this is a really good image right here. So right now, all of this sidewalk right here is public right-of-way. All of it. And the southern boundary of the Albertsons is right along their property line, which makes them a non-conforming building. We'll get into that more later when we go over the conditional use permit and that purpose of that. And what is being asked is that the city, as you can see, we have approximately 12 feet of sidewalk here. They're requesting that we vacate the 7 so that they may build and expand their building. I believe it's important for you to look at the zoning ordinance and also the comprehensive plan. I know that there are other political implications to certainly consider here, but as this body, you're here to recommend to City Council what is the crux when it comes down to simply the land use component of this request. Staff has verified some of the things that we made sure with our Public Works Director is if this request was to be approved, would we still meet our requirements as far as being ADA compliant with our right-of-ways. We would have 5-foot sidewalks, which is the minimum for the area. It can be of note, and I believe it will be a further conversation once we reach city council, that vacating right-of-way does remove certain options from us. Generally, we like having additional right-of-way for future roadway expansion. It gives us opportunities to make sure that however our community develops, that we have future options. However, it is proposed by the applicant, and we'll make this a greater part of their presentation, that allowing for the vacation will allow for them to better operate their store. From the economic development side, they've been in Mountain Home for a long time, provide a good few jobs. They provide a good amount of jobs, and other different variables that, as I mentioned before, will probably be more considered at the city council level. But I just want to make sure that what we're looking at is strictly the land use.
So, Rock, I have a question for you. Who already owns the ramps? Is that part of Albertsons?
That's our right of way,
So it's our right away.
and they have an easement.
Okay.
So, I can help clarify. So there's a platted, original town site plat of a 80-foot wide street, East 5th North. It goes from the back wall of the Albertsons building, 40 feet to the center line of 5th North, and then 40 feet from that center line across over to Hyler's.
Okay.
So that full street width is 80 feet. What has happened here is in 1998, the city, can you go back to that photo?
This one?
Yep. In 1998, Albertsons came to the city and to ITD seeking to allow them to occupy the right-of-way. So typically when we do this in other cities, but this was done almost 30 years ago, 30, not quite. It was done as an easement. You typically do it as a revocable license, because that is held in trust for the public, the entire 80 feet right away. So this was done as an easement, which is kind of a property interest, which is fairly unusual, but it is what it is. It was done in 1998, so there we have it. So they have those two ramps that occupy that as an easement. But it's not in toto running along there like that is. That's their proposal now. But what currently exists is little rectangles that encompass those ramps. And those are for trucks to unload. And then they have a similar arrangement on, I think, both sides of the building with ITD on the highways to allow the trucks to back in. I'll let the applicant speak to those. And there they are right there.
Mr. Chair, with that, are there any additional questions for myself or Mr. Schroeder prior to the applicant?
Commission?
No.
Okay.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Lee Young, 200 Broad Street, Boise, Idaho, 83702, for the record.
Thank you.
Brock's done a good job kind of introducing what we want to do with the variance, and ultimately the two small little bump outs that we want to put at the rear of the store will help increase efficiencies for the store itself, operate efficiently and help get product in and out quickly and efficiently. We're not proposing to change the size of the sales area, so therefore we're not going to it won't change any of the parking loads. We're not going to change any of the approaches, the driveways, any of the accessible walkways. It's just wanting to get that extra little bit of square footage for the store that we can be efficient and help be productive and help serve the community. And you know, that's really the reasoning for the vacation request in a nutshell.
Okay.
And stand for any questions you have on the variance or the vacation. I'm sorry.
I have none, Commission.
I have none.
No, we're good for now. I'll go ahead and have you step back, and I'll go ahead and open it up to public hearing. All right, anybody wanting to come up and speak to said proposal? Misty, show them how to do it.
So, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, Misty Pierce, you guys all know who I am. I am the precinct committee person for this area. I've had a few of my constituents voice their concerns about the walkway. There's a lot of foot traffic in that area. And then the length of construction, if that's going to block Fifth off. A couple of us are worried that is a main access road for not just EMS, but for a lot of us to get in and out of our houses and for our subdivision, and then as well for Hyler's business too. If that road's blocked off, it's going to cause a lot of problems. But I do know that at that corner of Sunset Strip, Main, and Fifth, there is a pedestrian light. Somebody told me it was turned backwards so the cars can't see it, and people are near hit at night. There's people I can see in the daylight have pushed that button and sat there and waited for cars 2 or 3 times for that light to go off because nobody pays attention to that. And that's a dangerous corner, a dangerous area. And then we've got trucks coming over when they're not supposed to be coming over. There's signs there saying no trucks. And so we're just kind of worried about the impact of the construction, what it will do to our traffic flow, and the liability if there is accidents in that area, especially pedestrians. And I know in the summertime with the parades, there's a lot of foot traffic there. And it was, I'm sure if you guys were out Friday night with the Christmas stuff and even Halloween, there was a lot of foot traffic coming down from Stardust Plaza to that area. And luckily they were in crowds, so they weren't getting hit, but cars do not slow down on Sunset Strip. So those are my main concerns.
Thanks, Misty.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I work for persons and
I just need your name and your address, please, for the record.
I think that the expansion would do well. People don't understand the severity of our back room. It's very tiny. And when you add pallets and you add, especially with mine, because I get seasonal, it makes that back room so tight that literally we have to move 5 things just to do one thing. So having that extra space would be presidential for us, as far as like having the extra room to move things, especially seasonal or holiday or whatever. Right now, our hallway, you can only get down with it with 1 U-boat, and that's it. And that's a big hallway. But I have 4 pallets of holiday that came in, and that's where it has to sit until it gets out on the floor and be able to sell it. And along with, we have a panel that Avila Candy blocks it because it's our electrical panels, but we have nowhere else to put it. So that extra space would be really, really good to have.
Okay.
As far as to be a,
Can you
Can you
Say your
verbally
name.
go ahead and
my name is
state
Rebecca Brooks,
and address?
225 East 15th North.
Awesome.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay. Anybody else?
Got here a little bit late, so I missed out. I don't quite know exactly where they're kicking it out on. Is it this way going over the tracks?
No, it's just going to be on South Fifth. So can you just go ahead and zoom out on that one? There you go.
this would probably be
Yep.
easier.
So that's going east on South Fifth right there. And so they're just kicking it out 7 feet, and then we're gonna have 5 extra feet, or 5 feet still for sidewalk.
Okay, so what is it that what is these pallets that she's working with?
So that's conversation between you and the general public, Don.
Not, I don't necessarily mean that, but I mean, couldn't they go like second? That whole thing goes across there, I think, somehow. Can't they knock the wall out, kick them out on that end somewhere?
Yeah, those are comments you can make to the commission
Okay.
of alternative
Yeah.
options.
I don't know, I haven't been in there all the way, so I'm not sure. I know there's room back there and they've changed it around a lot of times. I have original pictures of the way it was years ago even. You got me so nervous I wrote down wrong.
Don, is that all you want to say? It's just about alternative of moving out on the second instead of coming out on Fifth?
Yeah, I know they got the loading ramp, the loading dock at the other end, which that's, I don't know what all they do at the other end. There's no door or nothing down there at the other end other than them 2 ramps.
Okay.
That I know of. But that and kind of what this gal here said, there's possibly, accidents, emergency accesses and fire trucks, all that kind of stuff. Police is going to change their response time. Heilers, that's going to change how they come in there. And that. And I'm not exactly sure which way they come in all the time. I think they come in both ways, but I'm not sure. And that could cost us somebody getting, making the corners with the trucks, or somebody getting caught in the middle there, them turning and stuff. And we don't need somebody getting run over. And that could cost us some fuel problems too. I mean, we got several other gas stations, but I mean, that's gonna make it tough on his business to, however long you guys, are they gonna shut down half the street, or are they gonna shut the whole street down? I guess that's pretty much it. All I can think of right now. There's kids coming up through there too, going to schools.
Awesome. Thanks, Don. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing on that one then. I'll invite the applicant to come back up.
I got a question.
Okay. Billy, go ahead and ask your question.
Mark, if I'm understanding this correct, from the package and from the illustration, currently, right now, they do, maybe the words is wrong right away, but they do occupy some of the ramp space. Have you had any complaints, anything historical on some of the citizens saying there's any traffic congestion or anything with the public walk-in or anything like that?
As far as pedestrian traffic, in my time, I can't say that I've been privy to any direct complaints about the existing ramps. Is that what you're referring to,
Right.
Commissioner Roeder? Causing some sort of obstruction for pedestrians. I haven't heard those. I would ask Rich. He's been here longer than I have. If he's ever heard any of.
I haven't looked, but I haven't.
Never heard anything. Is there any, go ahead.
I get as the city prosecutor, I get the pass-ons from the police department, and there was recently a parking violation, an attempted one, for a Falls Brand meat truck blocking an entrance to a neighboring business. It was in front of a fire hydrant, but the receiving department was informed of the issue and apparently it was resolved, so, but that was very recently, last week. But that's the only one of those I've seen.
And is there anywhere else in town, to your recollection, that has this kind of same
Configuration?
configuration? Yes, that's what I meant.
I can tell you, for this type of land use, traditionally, this configuration is irregular. For big box stores, bigger commercial entities, usually you see them in a space where they have ample area to do all their loading, unloading, offloading. There's enough barrier between them and any other users around them. For a lot of new builds, this Albertsons has been here since 1988.
Well, that's when they bought it. It's been there longer.
Oh, even longer than that. That was when they bought it. It was Safeway prior.
How long has it been here?
Been here since I can remember. Yeah, 60s.
So what I believe what you have, what would be my professional urban development opinion, is you have a space that worked for decades and decades and decades, based on the population that was here, and it's getting a lot tighter. And I believe that in order for Albertsons to continue to operate in a manner where they are going to be effective, that it's either do your best to make this site work for you with actions such as being proposed, or you're probably going to have to look at a new site.
So can I ask a question? Why the back end of Albertsons and not on 2nd Street, as that was asked earlier?
Have a fix-your plan of what the store layout looks like. And more than anything, it comes down to operations of the store. I can, that's large enough to see that
That would be your produce side.
this area, this is the front of the store. All of this area is sales.
Okay.
And the back, this back little area here is what they have for the meat. They have a grocery freezer back here. They've got some of their floral and produce back here. And if they went off of this side, they would lose sales space along this side to help accommodate and get access for additional building to come out this way. Plus the one of the main drive aisles that comes in the store off of 5th Street at this location, it would impede on that drive aisle on this side. So it just operationally and the way the store works, the existing footprint and the way traffic enters from 5th Street at this corner here, this is about the only way they can make it work.
Okay.
And let's see, and again, as far as the street, we're not going to modify the street itself or any, there will be some construction time. The sidewalk will be closed down for a short period of time, like any other construction project. There is another sidewalk on the south side of the street that's hasn't been that long since that was built and improved for the city. So as far as access and traffic going through there, people headed to Marathon and that it shouldn't impede that.
So you're not planning your construction to go out into the street? No? Okay.
No, if a GC needs to temporarily block some of the the parking that was along that for a short period of time, I think. But to my knowledge, at this time, there's no intent to, shut down the street for 6 months or anything like that.
If I may. So I'm Adam Liu with Albertsons, 250 East Park Center Boulevard. Just touching on the construction, we'll obviously work with the city to mitigate as much as we can.
Okay, thank you. Commission?
I have no questions on the vacation aspect of it.
Okay. Okay, then entertain a motion. Here's Billy.
I'd like to make a motion to approve vacation of right-of-way 7 feet from the rear of the building, removing existing ramps from the right-of-way and allowing for expansion of property located at 528 North Main Street. Parcel RPA 3S06 Echo 253850.
Okay, first up, second.
Second?
Okay, Billy?
Aye.
Scott? Aye. And I as well. Motion passes. Moving on to number 2, conditional use permit. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, Commission. So, when Albertsons came to my office, wondering how to proceed forward, we knew that in order to do an expansion, they would have to vacate, and then there would be 2 options as far as being able to get the type of building setbacks that they would need to make their desired expansion. Staff informed Albertsons that being that it's non-conforming, you can expand a non-conforming structure with a conditional use permit, or there would even be the potential to rezone to C2, which is what everything is to the south. However, the C2 zone has 0 lot line setbacks all around. And we thought that would not necessarily be appropriate for that property. Therefore, we recommended to the applicant that if they were looking for a way to go forward in order to get their desired setbacks, that they simply submit a conditional use permit to expand a non-conforming building. So what they are asking is that they expand the non-conforming building, and in this instance, the non-conforming component of the building is its rear setback. In the C3 district, you need to be 15-foot setback from the rear. They are 12, and they would be seeking to encroach upon that requirement by 7 additional feet. What we are privy to look at when we look at this request is we look at first the intent of a non-conforming use or a non-conforming structure is generally the intent, and the very first things you'll read in our code is they are things that we accommodate for one reason or another, but it isn't necessarily something we want to live in perpetuity. Which, given this circumstance, is unique. I can tell you that we have done other similar conditional use permits. One was for a law office nearby, where in order for them to expand, being non-conforming, and to continue their operations, we would have to build upon a non-conforming use, which per the code generally is something that we don't want to continue. So that's a piece of knowledge to have. The additional code that you should look at is it's a conditional use permit, and go through all those sections to ensure that if they were to receive the opportunity to make this expansion to the non-conforming building by being able to build all the way along that southern boundary, is the effects that it will have on the built environment around them, to the neighboring properties, etc. I believe it's safe to say that once it's there. We have 2 ramps. If we vacated right away, that right away is already given up for future city expansion. Those opportunities to utilize that additional space are no longer present. And then, unlike the variance application, you can kind of look into some of those other things as well, the economics of it, what is there. So, are there any questions as to why does this qualify for a non-conforming building expansion? The criteria to look at as we deliberate this decision. And then, I don't know if Mr. Schroeder has anything.
So it appears that it meets 910-2, well, the guideline is 910-2F as a non-conforming structure, not a non-conforming use. The use is a retail store, which is permitted, but the non-conformity is its failure to meet the setback of 15 feet. So the property line is at the intersection of the sidewalk and the back of the building. So the setback is 0 feet. So what the applicant is requesting is, should the vacation be allowed? And then that city street, so a city, when I use the word street, right, I mean the platted width of 80 feet. Some of that street is occupied by a sidewalk that lets people walk. It's all public way, including the telephone poles there. So, should the street be vacated is 7 feet, then the nonconformity would just be duplicated. It's not necessarily enlarging, so they're gonna, the city is gonna give its property to Albertsons. They're gonna own that. The property line is then gonna be 5 feet, and then they're gonna move that wall out. So, it's kind of a blend between expanding a non-conforming building by acquisition of more property and then waiving the setback requirement. The setback's 15 feet, so they're not even gonna, that's only 12 there now, even if we gave them the entire sidewalk. It still wouldn't meet the setback. So I think you're partly in waiverville by a conditional use permit, which implicates variance standards, which are the characteristics of the site unique to the site, and would strict adherence to these setbacks provide an undue burden on the applicant. That's not the fault of the applicant. So those are some things to consider as well.
I know you kind of said everything that you wanted to say, but by all means, if you have anything else you want to add.
Again, for the record, Lee Young, 200 Broad Street, Boise, Idaho, 83702. No, it's similar to everything that we talked about in the previous application. The need, doesn't change with the application. The existing building is there with a current conditional use permit from when Albertsons bought the building 30 years ago, for the same reasons that we're looking at here. They had this a zero lot line, or the need for the zero lot line, and is not dissimilar from a C2 district across the street. It's allowed in the zero lot line's allowed in a C2. So we're just asking for the same as what we have currently with the new application. The total expansion square footage is about 834 square feet is all. It's not, the boxes that we put back there are not going to be any taller than probably half the height of the building is. So they're just, it's minimalistic. It'll blend in, be painted the same as the adjacent surfaces on the building. And
Out of curiosity, for my knowledge, are you going to do the entire run of the building, or are you just going to, are you taking the ramps out or the ramps staying?
no, the ramps are going to stay.
Okay. So then there was 2 pop-outs that you were doing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 2 pop-outs. The top end of each ramp. So
Yeah. That kind of stuff.
those 2 stay, and these are our 2 little areas of expansion here.
Okay. Perfect.
That way we can keep access for the ramp as product comes into this.
Okay. Commissioner, do you have any other questions right now?
No questions per se. Well, I guess I do have one question. The expansion areas, you're planning on putting freezer space, walk-ins, that kind of stuff?
There will be the one closest, well, the one at this end, it's going to be expanded storage area. And the other one will be split into storage and then a little bit of a workspace for the floral department.
Current operations on the east side of the building along Second, that, and I guess on the west side on Main, you have the current truck ramps to pull in. Is there any, I guess my question is, what's the current operational use of the ramps that exist adjacent to the expansion areas?
Along Fifth Street. Currently, there are delivery trucks that pull right up along the curb, and it's used as a loading zone, as approved by the city previously. Trucks will pull in, they'll unload at those curb cuts, and use those ramps to access the rear of the store and that back storage area that's back here.
So if I may, again, Adam Lou with Albertsons, 250 East Park Center Boulevard. The dock on the other side of the street is below grade. So some of those vendors don't have the right size truck, so they do need to come in through the back.
And the 5-foot sidewalk won't be impacted by the existing curb cuts, so your current distributors pulling into those spaces. Are we looking at any, like, impedance into East 5th North there with those trucks that may be pulling into an existing curb cut now?
Well, the trucks don't pull into those curb cuts along Fifth Street here. They pull along the curb and unload a lot of, the smaller delivery trucks, the bread and some of those guys but the width of the sidewalk will meet the minimum 5 feet as what's required by the city.
Just wanted to make sure that we were clarifying that 5-foot sidewalk would be maintained in its entirety throughout that length, and that we're not pulling trucks into that space and taking
No.
up where.
Correct. It doesn't operate that way currently, and we won't change that.
Other than that, to Brock's point of looking at zoning and the comprehensive plan, going into the comp plan and the retail leakage and surplus analysis page, we have essentially three grocery stores in town. If 800 and some odd square feet gets you to the point where you can expand and operate more efficiently, this is an odd piece of property as it is. It's an odd shape. It's been here for decades. I see no reason not to allow this expansion.
Any questions, Billy? No? Okay, so I do have to open it up for public hearing because there's another. And I will, before I open it up, say this new, because if you've already come up and you've shared and it's already addressed questions about the expansion and whatnot, this is only if you want to come up and add something new to what you have previously stated. Right, Don?
So,
Go ahead and state your name for me, Don, and your
Don.
address.
So I don't have any much against it, but I just, can they, so they're going the full, 2 dropouts around the ramps, right? Then there's gonna be a space in the middle,
Yep, that is what is being proposed for expansion area.
so it's engulfing the ramp, okay?
It won't engulf the ramp. It will be right next to the ramp. So all this area in red
Uh-huh,
is what Albertsons is proposing
okay.
as potential expansion area.
Is that gonna be enclosed with a door to the ramp, or is it gonna be open area to where,
That's going to go directly into the building, so that is actually extra storage in the building.
okay. And then, So is that power pole gonna be in the way of the sidewalk then at the end or
power
not?
pole will remain at its current place. Yep,
Okay,
status.
okay. So, I don't know, like you said, that I see the difference in the trucks, the semis coming in, offloading on that side ramp. So, how often do they come in? I don't know, for their delivery on that side. That's what I was wondering. I don't know how much pallet or how much stuff they have to ship back out on them pallets, or who picks them pallets up. But I was wondering how, if there's an opening there too, possibly, that they might be able to set something out there to set them on and pull them away before the semis come in to unload out to the point out there on the other end. I don't know if that's possible. I ain't saying no. I just throwing that in there. But they're not going to change the street in any way?
Nope.
Okay. And they're just going to work from whatever they got? Okay. I kind of follow you now.
Perfect. Glad. Anybody else?
Rebecca Brooks, address is 225 East 50th North. Can I stand over here?
Absolutely.
Okay, so just to give you an example, right here we never have, rarely ever do we have semis. All we have is our bread trucks, our small, maybe like wine deliveries or something like that. It would be like me parked on the side of the road at my house. Right here is our receiving area. They usually bring the stuff into this rack. This one here is our produce area, and they usually take their trash. That's how we get the trash out. We bring it in the back room. They bring their pallets, they put it on the side, and that's where our dumpage trucks go. And they get stored right there in our trash cans. So that area gets left for the city to come get our trash. But never has our trucks ever impeded on the back lane. I mean, they park like I would park in front of my house on the sidewalk.
Can you tell me about how long they are there for delivery?
Some, maybe an hour, that's about it.
Okay.
You know, they unload, they go in, we receive them. Some of them, they don't have a whole lot of product, some of them, most of them. So they put their product, they get in their cars and they drive away. Because like I said, our receiving's only open till noon. So a lot of times it's just like between 6 and noon that the back drivers are ever really there. We did have, at one time we had a Pepsi truck come this way because he couldn't get back in. But right there is where most of our semis go.
Okay.
We rarely ever have a semi back unless they're going back to the side of the building to drop off a dumpage truck.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Sorry, Don. I can't have you. Nope, sorry. Okay, seeing now we're going to close the public hearing on that one then. Commission, it's up to you. You can come back up if you like, or if you're comfortable, you can stay there. It's up to you.
Unless you have other questions.
Scott, I think you're spot on when you were talking about, based on comprehensive plan, where we're at and the use of that building. I don't see a problem with it myself either. Deliveries, and I really appreciate, Rebecca, you coming in and explaining all of that, because that's huge, from
Because
firsthand
if
experience.
I don't explain it and there's nobody else to tell you about that.
Yeah, no, I
Nobody
appreciate
has the
that.
knowledge for that portion.
So it's only like an hour for, unload and load and whatnot, so I don't see
I
a
think the
big
longest-
issue.
The longest
Oh.
delivery driver is our mission, and he's got quite more product than most of the rest of them, but that's about it.
Okay. Billy, do you have anything else?
Do you, Mr. Chair, do you need to recognize the one opposition?
Yes, within our packets, we did have an opposition to it. Brock, do you want to speak to that?
Yes. Just want to make sure that I speak to it correctly, so I'm just going to pull it up. very end. One second. Thank you. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we did receive a letter on November 28th, 2022 from Miss Charlene Carey in opposition to the request for both a vacation and also the conditional use permit. Essentially, and all of you have the letter, I believe all of you have probably read it. She says that essentially that Albertsons has outgrown that space, that instead of allowing further allowances for them to remain, that they should look at other places, that it's a crowded area of town. That is the very brief summary of why she believes that it should be denied.
Okay, thank you. Commission, if you have nothing else, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to request conditional use permit to allow the expansion of a non-conforming building and a structure, allowing 0 rear yard setback in a C3 zone located at 528 North Main Street.
Okay, I have a first, I have a second.
Second?
Second by Scott. Scott, what's over this time?
Yeah.
Okay, Billy?
Aye.
As aye for me as well. So that motion passes. All right, Commission, on this one right here, we have the zoning title amendment that we've been discussing, that we brought back from our previous meeting. After conversation with council, I think it would be important for us to vote on bringing in a joint meeting between the planning and zoning and city council. So we do have to vote on that. In other words, just make a motion to have Brock create a joint meeting for us.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay?
I'd like to make a motion that city staff enables us to have a joint meeting between planning and zoning and city council, so we can address the comprehensive staff report regarding the zoning title amendment. Chapter 1, Title 9, Section 7, Chapter 3, Title 9, Section 2, Chapter 7, Title 9, Section 4.
Okay, first, have a second?
Set a public hearing for that same meeting.
Say it one more time.
And set a public hearing for that.
And set a public hearing.
Okay, so first by Scott, second by Billy. Billy?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye for me as well, motion passes. No new business, no old business. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are done with this evening at 6:47.